made the show or Brian?
It is pretty interesting to listen to Vince Gilligan himself talk about it and talk about how certain shots got pulled together.
I mean, I guess, he's a bystander. I haven't even seen him on the show.
Yeah.
Did he run the cameras? What did he do?
Name one time you saw him in Pluribus.
Yeah, like as best I can tell, he does the same thing I do. Run his mouth off about Pluribus.
Well, I would highly recommend giving
Prove it's different. You can't.
Only he's a paid shill. He's paid. I'm talking from the heart. So one could make a case that I'm the bigger, more important piece here.
Vince Gilligan is entirely biased about Pluribus. Who's going to tell you the truth? Him or Brian?
Very true.
I think he stands to gain quite a bit if Pluribus does well.
Oh, I'm shocked. Vince Gilligan thinks Pluribus is good.
Yeah, I bet he thinks he knows how it ends too. Nah.
I think you're seeing I think you'll enjoy it.
Howdy, best darn computers. Howdy, Ambassador Domo. Howdy, random Hank from Galveston. Hey. Hello, G. James B. By the way, we were very, very heartened to see 4 of you guys. You know what we should do? We should schedule these live streams every time.
Well, we'd have to do them every Tuesday at exactly the same time, Brian.
I'm starting to think maybe we need a dedicated producer for this here operation.
Well, then what would Amos do?
Yeah. Well, wait. Amos, take a note.
All righty.
Wait, hold on. I gotta share my thing.
I feel like my 2 weeks was just filed for me, but okay.
No. You're more important than ever.
No, I think it was the opposite.
Yeah. Your to-do list just got higher. Well, here. I guess I'll just play this.
Hello, Dylan of Theus.
Yes. Hang on. There we go. So good. I don't have to worry about copyright takedown. Take that, content ID.
What's the music?
It's
generated.
Nanya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I'm ready to tell you who can stop Netflix from buying Warner.
Oh, let's do this.
I won't. Welcome to Cord Killers. We have killed all the cords. Everybody's just streaming everything. It's mass insanity. And in this apocalyptic landscape of television, we are here to try to pick up the pieces and help you watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian?
Oh my goodness, the good stuff is in a throwback to our old format where guess what, Tom? We've got a special guest.
What? Joining us today, Andy Beach from Engines of Change and so many other awesome things. Andy, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Brian. Great to see you guys.
Indeed. Andy and I have just been going back and forth in the back channels of the internet talking about this whole Netflix, Warner Brothers, Paramount threesome or maybe it's
love triangle.
I've just started calling it a knife fight.
Yeah, I guess Paramount would have to agree to also buy, and Netflix is like, come on in for it to be a threesome. It's more about, are you team Paramount or team Netflix to win Warner's heart?
Yeah, we're just ripping off Twilight, just like 50 Shades of Grey did.
Yeah, exactly. There was no literature before Twilight, right, Andy?
Exactly.
Well, let's get right into that very topic, which funnily enough, we were like, well, we did the show on Thursday last week because of scheduling. I hope we have enough to talk about on Tuesday. We do in the supply run.
Supply run.
Since last Thursday, when I said, I don't know why, but I kind of hope Netflix gets it, Netflix got it. Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders have agreed. Well, I guess I should say the Warner Brothers Discovery board has agreed to sell the studio and streaming side. So they're going to still split it in two with cable nets in what's the Town podcast lovingly calls Shitco, into a separate unit that will not be sold. And Netflix gets the Warner Brothers studio, it gets HBO Max, and the TV production part of the deal. It is expected to close after that split is done in 12 to 18 months. So we've got plenty of time to talk over this. The end date is March 4th, 2027, with 2 automatic extensions, so it could even go longer. Netflix will pay $23.30 per share in cash and $4.50 per share in Netflix stock. Reuters reports that Paramount offered more, $30 a share, and Paramount's not happy that Warner took Netflix's offer. We'll get to that in a second. This is going to be a long tail. Let me tell you a story about what's happening between the love triangle here. Netflix would get Warner Brothers catalog, so Casablanca to Superman to Harry Potter. That includes Warner Brothers Studios, HBO Max, Turner Classic Movies, interestingly, part of the Netflix side of this. It will not get the cable networks. It doesn't get CNN, doesn't get Discovery, doesn't get TNT, any of that stuff. David Zaslav, the current CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, reportedly will stay in charge of the Warner Studio side of the business and be CEO of Warner under Netflix. And a lot of what Netflix has said about this is that they intend to keep Warner operating as its own entity under Netflix. Netflix co-CEO Greg Peters said they think there's a big opportunity to increase subscribers through HBO Max. Here's what he said. We think there's a real opportunity to increase it. No, he said, we think there's a real opportunity in figuring out how we bring those titles in the right way through some combination of plans, tiering, etc. Variety said he told this to employees during a town hall on Friday. And then later that day, Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav told his employees HBO Max will stay, saying anybody that has Netflix and has HBO Max will have a better experience. For people that only want HBO Max, they'll be able to get it. Netflix executives on Friday alluded to bundling the two streaming services, but it sounds like they're not just going to fold it all into one. Co-CEO of Netflix, Ted Sarandos, said he hoped to make the theater window more consumer-friendly. A lot of folks in Los Angeles are panicking about Netflix owning Warner Brothers theatrical releases. Sarandos said, right now you should count on everything that is planned on going to the theaters through Warner Brothers will continue to go to the theaters through Warner Brothers, and Netflix movies will take the same path that they have. So that could change down the road, but he's trying to calm everybody, like, we're not trying to mess up Warner Brothers theatrical release business.
Yeah.
But,
so if I could jump in right there. Hey, Andy, I got a little game. It's called Do We Believe That at All?
Well, so I do actually sort of believe it. I feel confident that Hollywood overreacts to Netflix when they say that they don't want a window. I think they are happy with a window, but they want to change it and make it more friendly to streaming, of course. But I think if they have HBO and a studio, they're going to want to play into the windowing business, at least some. Like, they're going to have a stake in having a theater business and will want to make it thrive. So they're looking to change it. But I think whenever Hollywood hears someone wants to change that windowing time limit, they want to destroy it, and therefore they are immediately against it. So I think Hollywood is pushing back too hard here, and they need to maybe change their minds or change their attitude about it and be a little willing to react to the fact that, streaming has sort of shown us that it is the path forward, and that doesn't mean there can't be other paths out there, but it's going to be a pretty dominant part of how we consume content.
Well, so I think a lot about kind of recursive, revealed preferences, hidden knowledge becoming public knowledge. And I suspect we all agree that we shouldn't take Netflix exactly by their word that nothing's going to change, wink, wink. But then also, I question whether or not we should take the Hollywood backlash against it, because I wonder how much of that is kind of performative to essentially all the managers want to assure all of the talent that they're still going to get their glitzy, glamorous red carpet premieres, and that their moms are going to get to go to the movie theaters to see their kids in the movies. Because of all the most feeling-based elite production economies, Hollywood seems to run the most on stuff like credit and prestige.
Also, Netflix isn't saying nothing's going to change. In fact, that's what got people panicked.
Right.
They're actually trying to be honest and say, right now, count on everything that is planned going to the theaters to go through the theaters the way it goes through the theaters. But they are promising they won't try to change that in the future. And I'm with Andy. I don't think they'll try to change it as radically or as fast as Hollywood believes, but they are. I'm with you, Brian. They are eventually going to try to change it.
Yeah, I guess that's the only nuance is I don't even think Hollywood believes that they want nothing to change, but they have to say performatively that they want nothing to change.
Well, I think Netflix is being, the reason I'm pushing this point is I think Netflix is being honest. Like, hey, if you think on day one, we're going to rip up all the contracts, we're not. We're going to respect everything that's in the, we're going to go slow on the change. They're not going to say go slow because that makes it even more of a panic inducing statement. But it's not like Netflix takes over in April of next year and suddenly, or April of 2027, I guess. And then suddenly, all the theatrical releases are pulled from the theaters. It's not going to be like that. And some people are acting like it would be. All of this is going to have to pass regulatory scrutiny as well, because you got big companies involved. The EU is expected to put conditions on the deal. And of course, David Ellison, the CEO of Skydance Paramount, is already pressuring the U.S. to investigate and possibly block the acquisition, as well as making a hostile takeover offer. Gunnar Wiedenfels will become the leader of Discovery Global, in case you're wondering about that part. It's important to understand this to understand Paramount's bid. This is the part that Netflix won't get. So Gunnar is going to become head of Discovery Global. That will include CNN, the Discovery Channel, TNT, HGTV, Animal Planet, Food Network, Investigation Discovery, TLC, True TV, Cartoon Network, as well as Warner Brothers International television production, which ostensibly would become Discovery Global's in-house production arm. Paramount would like to have all of that. They're making a bid for all of that plus everything else. This would be left on its own, which could possibly be sold on its own later on. So keep that in mind. Paramount weighed in Monday, taking their competing offer of $30 a share directly to the shareholders, saying if we can get enough shareholders to agree to take our offer instead of Netflix's, then it doesn't matter what the board says, we will have hostilely taken over the company. David Ellison's argument is their bid is more per share, $30, and he's also arguing that Paramount will more likely pass regulatory scrutiny. Now, the value is arguable. Netflix stock makes its offer worth more than it looks like, right? So if you're getting a few dollars in stock of Netflix, well, that's going to continue to go up. If you're just getting cash, the cash is cash. So there's an argument there that the Netflix offer is maybe as valuable, if not more valuable, because you're getting Netflix stock, which will supposedly continue to rise. Also, whatever you value that Discovery Global unit is extra money for the shareholders in the Netflix deal. Paramount's buying it all for $30 a share, and that's all you get. With the Netflix deal, you have Discovery Global left that you will continue to be a shareholder in if you're a current shareholder, and you could sell that off. Now, we're probably talking $1 or $2 a share there, but if you consider Netflix stock is going to go up and you're going to get $1 or $2 a share for Discovery Global, then suddenly you are talking $31 to $32 a share, which is apparently what Warner Brothers Discovery's board evaluated the Netflix offer at, hence them choosing it. The regulatory ease of this is also arguable. Netflix is a large company combining with another large company. So market cap wise, you've got a concern there. Paramount is a smaller company than Netflix. However, Paramount's offer is backed by money from Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar, albeit for non-voting shares. So Paramount is arguing those shares, they don't get a voting, so it shouldn't be a regulatory concern, but some people think it might be anyway. Also with regulatory, they are going to look at what effect this will have on jobs. In Paramount's filing, it says it is targeting up to $6 billion in cost savings if it acquires Warner Brothers Discovery. There's no way it gets to $6 billion in cost savings if it doesn't eliminate jobs. Netflix, on the other hand, says $2 to $3 billion in cost savings for duplicative operations. Netflix has almost no duplicative operations with Warner Brothers except for HBO Max streaming. And so most analysts look at this and say the 2 to 3 billion is probably mostly fees that it will no longer have to pay because it owns the intellectual property that it leases from HBO, and maybe some jobs in the streaming area, but not nearly as many jobs as would be eliminated if Paramount gets this. But of course,
this is interesting. Well, from the outside, I know very little, but I've seen headlines that say stuff like Hollywood hates Netflix, et cetera, et cetera. And what I suspect is that Hollywood hates change, like we were talking about. Mm-hmm. But that's an interesting question, is which one is a bigger reshuffling of the Hollywood cards? The Netflix offer, which on the surface seems like the bigger change, but it sounds like they're going to disturb the fewest number of humans, as opposed to the Paramount offer where a lot of people are going to get eliminated.
Yeah. And I think not everybody is thinking of it that way. Andy, what do you make of that?
Yeah, no, I do feel like there is a lot of strong immediate feelings that come around when it's Netflix buying the studio that are not keeping people from doing the analysis, which you just laid out excellently. Because I don't think ultimately Paramount makes that great a home at the end of the day for Warner as a property. I feel like Netflix probably ends up being a pretty good steward of the brand and helping sort of return some of the status that is lost over the last few years when it's been through some of the crazy changes that it's been in.
Yep.
Okay. The last piece of this puzzle is...
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom. I legit thought just now that there was breaking news, changing the story yet again.
I wouldn't have been shocked if that was the case.
Tom's putting in a bid for
no,
Brothers.
I was actually answering a question in chat. W. Scottus 1 was asking if didn't Warner reject Paramount offers. This whole thing started, if you've listened to Cord Killers, you know this. This whole thing started with Paramount making an offer for all of Warner before it could continue with its plan to split up. It was a $19 a share offer in the beginning. Over the course of this process, Paramount has made 6 offers. And none of them obviously have been accepted. Netflix and Comcast also made offers once Warner opened it for bidding at the end of November. And so Netflix and Comcast also had offers, quote unquote, rejected. In the end, they just said, let's take an offer from Comcast. Let's take one from Netflix. Let's take one from Paramount. We'll look at them. We'll give feedback. No to those. Make another round. They did another round. And this Friday, they finally said, okay, we like the Netflix offer. We'll take that. What Paramount is claiming is not, oh, we made 6 offers and you rejected them, so much as you ghosted us on the last offer. Our last offer addressed all your concerns. It's got more cash, and you never told us what you didn't like about it. Warner is saying like, yeah, you know what? The deadline was ended and we like Netflix offer better. And that was the deadline we set. So, tough nuts. You didn't get it. The other part of this, though, when you talk about regulatory, is the man sitting in the White House. Everyone has assumed that David Ellison, because he's the son of Larry Ellison, who's very friendly with the president, would have the inside track. And I've seen some people jumping to the conclusion of like, wow, the president will make sure Paramount gets this. The president so far has said some very mild things about market share, said some very nice things about Ted Sarandos, and said, you know what? He's going to look into it. He'll be involved in the decision. Those are things he says all the time about big stuff like this. He did not mince words about being mad about a 60 Minutes piece, saying Paramount's new ownership is no better than the old ownership. So all I'm saying there is not, well, obviously he's going to pick Netflix. This isn't as simple as like, oh, well, Paramount's the buddy here. I think we're also in a bidding war of who can do the nicest thing for the president to get him on their side as well.
Does the president have any veto? He's got the bully pulpit, of course, but it would be
well. The Department of Justice right. is going to pursue the case about whether this deserves to be sued, to be blocked or not, and the president can tell the head of the Department of Justice what he thinks they should do.
It is mostly that bully pulpit, though. It'll be the vocal pieces that come out about it more than anything. And it has been interesting to see that he's been less vocal about it than I feel like he would have been in maybe months past around it. So
He might be a little bit distracted teeing up a war with Venezuela.
there is a lot going on. So who knows? I'm glad that he's being more quiet about it, and hopefully we see less of him in it. But I wouldn't be shocked if it came down to someone having a surprise payment that has to come due in order to make sure that the wheels of justice don't suddenly come to a grinding halt.
Yeah, from the technology side of things, NVIDIA just agreed to give 25% of the revenue it makes off of sales of its chips to China to the government in order to get permission to sell the more advanced chips to China. That seems to be the kind of thing the president likes to see. Hey, you know what? Cut in the U.S. government on part of this, and we'll make the deal go smoothly. I think it's incredibly interesting that he has been very mild about Netflix, not saying it's fine, but saying, you know what, I think the best deal should probably win here. Netflix has done a lot to prepare the ground for that we probably don't know about.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind, if I'm understanding this correctly, until we hear otherwise, we should assume that the Netflix deal is going to go through. Unless is really politically the only vector that Paramount has a chance, or
it's funny. Pick an analyst and you'll hear a different thing. You've got very experienced financial analysts out there going, you know what, Paramount's going to end up getting this. Netflix just won't be able to pass regulatory scrutiny at that size. You have other analysts that are just as equally storied and experienced going, you know what, Netflix is going to get this. There's really no story Paramount can tell that says the fiduciary part of this will outweighs what Netflix gave. So they're not going to convince the shareholders. And there's really no regulatory holdup with Netflix buying such a small market share company as Warner Brothers compared to them. So, Andy, I don't know. What do you think the chances are that it gets through?
I mean, all things being equal, I feel like it probably should go through and probably will, but it's going to take a lot of battering. And it's going to be a mix of both the political pieces that we were just talking about, and then a lot of the posturing that we are already seeing. There's so much on LinkedIn and social media around who it should be, and we're just at the beginning of it. I haven't even popped the popcorn that I'm going to be sitting and eating while I watch all of this play out yet.
Well, give us a little bit of a preview of some of the hurdles that you see. Like if we're sketching out the arc of the next 12 to 18 months, what are some of the gateway moments we can expect?
There's going to be a big piece. So the EU gets to weigh in on this as well, because this is a global business that if your business earns more than 5 billion of its revenue annually in global sales, then the EU also has to weigh in on the judgments. So they're going to have pieces of it. That's why they're involved in this deal to begin with. They're unlikely to kill it, which Tom mentioned earlier, but they will probably have directives in it that come around that will probably be related to data privacy, the way that AI can be used for things like back catalogs and data training and other pieces. All of that will no doubt start to come in. So Netflix will have to give at least a little bit of its roadmap to the legislators for what it's thinking about doing in order to get past that hurdle. And there will probably be some changes and amendments that come in from the EU. Once they have signed off, then the real battle will be sort of the Department of Justice and the pieces that go there, and that will be going on in parallel, but it will take ultimately much longer than the EU pieces of this.
Yeah, it's tempting to think emotionally about this,
right?
And to think, well, Paramount must be the red state choice and Netflix is the blue state choice. And it's not playing out that way. If you look at what's being said and what's happening, you can selectively choose facts and make it fit that narrative if you want. And I see a lot of people doing that. But the fact of the matter is the president is a big voice in this, but he isn't the final voice on it. The shareholders are the biggest voice on this. And the judges that will judge this, all also are not like,
Oh,
well,
so
you
the
know,
judges get to say, that's
Yeah.
neat.
turns out the government can't just say, no, you can't merge in the United States. The government has to go to a judge and say, we think this violates antitrust if we allow this merger. And so that's what the U.S. is going to do. And the U.S. may decide it's not worth it to do that, even if they, end up upsetting their friend Larry when they do that. It just may not be. They may look at it and go, this just isn't worth the time we'd have to put into it.
So
Yeah,
in
I
terms
really
of,
liked your analysis last week, Tom, where you sort of ran the numbers and just said that the reality is there wasn't really a monopoly play that was there if you look at all the other players that are in the streaming business, and looking at it purely as a streaming business, not as a Hollywood deal, I think will be the difference of how the direction that the DOJ takes in this.
Yeah, it depends on if it were to go to court, it would depend on which judge they take it to. What Andy's referring to is on my Freetown newsletter. I did a breakdown of the actual market share. If you look at the gauge, Brian, that we look at the gauge all the time. The breakdown of Nielsen's The Gauge is YouTube 12.9%, Disney 11.4%. You've got to go to sixth place to get Netflix with 8.0% and Warner Brothers Discovery behind it with 5.6%. That is including everything: cable TV, broadcast television, and streaming. If you do go down to just streaming, yes, Netflix is number 2 behind YouTube. And then Warner Brothers is way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, ninth place at 1.3%. So Netflix adding Warner Brothers in streaming does nothing to change its market position. It rounds it up a little bit. Netflix adding Warner Brothers Discovery, if you add in cable and TV, does put it in front of YouTube in viewing. So it makes it a much bigger company. But in the area of television that is declining, not the area that's growing. So if you get a judge that still values cable and TV and doesn't look forward, maybe you could convince a judge, oh, look at that, they're going to be dominant in this area. But Netflix doesn't have any TV and cable. So they're not going to be dominant in TV and cable. It's just combining their streaming in that would make them dominant. And once you're looking at streaming, well, then you got to start to look at the future. And I think a judge is going to go, yeah, but that part's going to decline and they're not that much bigger than the others. So I think it's a tough sell to go on market share. I think what you could do is say, this is a big market cap company buying out a smaller competitor, whereas Paramount and Warner Brothers would be two equally sized market cap companies combining.
But what's funny is that we're in a complicated spot, because I did poke around, because in terms of market share, we're looking at a subjective divvying up of the pie as percentages. But if you look at hard numbers, of course, Netflix is freaking gigantic. It's $480 billion market cap. And then compare that to all of Disney, which is only $180 billion. And so you think, oh my God, it's so much bigger. But then the whole space has gotten so upside down, you have to bring Amazon into the mix. And all of a sudden, Netflix doesn't seem big at all.
Yeah. If you look at market cap, right? And Amazon owns MGM and Prime Video and all of that. So I don't think anti-competitive is impossible for them to prove, but I don't think it's a lock. I think
it's a hard it's a very hard one to make at the end of the day, and if they try to hang it on that, I think they will ultimately lose.
Yeah. I really liked Andy's write-up on Substack this weekend about how this is marking a shift, no matter what happens, into our era away from channels. Explain your theory as we move into a new era of television, basically.
And it's more of a theory I borrowed. So there's a great author out there called Amanda D. Lutz, who writes about this space. In fact, she wrote about sort of the golden era of streaming coming about due in part to Mad Men. So highly recommend going to read her books. She published a smaller piece a couple of years ago called Portals. And it was about how when you get somebody that has a large library and a streaming distribution service and an ad deal into place, you start to really have more of a portal play than a channel play. And so you become a destination with recommendations and personalization that we can experience, rather than that 24/7 channel or series of channels that you use to service. So it's more curated to the individual than the demo, the way that a channel would be. And the piece I wrote on my Substack was basically around how the fact that this sort of earmarks, we've been heading this direction a long time, and you could argue that we've had lots of portals that are forming, and there are multiples out there, but this becomes sort of one of the big dominant ones, and Disney being sort of the other massive portal that's in there, but not the only one by any stretch.
Well, and we had previously, we don't, I mean, we have such a full episode, we can't go all the way in the weeds, but I had noted last week that there does seem to be a parallel. We were talking about what might Netflix do with HBO. And then once you picture HBO being a sub-brand pillar, then it starts to look, the Netflix front page starts to look like a Disney Plus front page. And then when you also factor in Netflix having, not necessarily doing roller coaster theme parks, but theme park like experiences with the themed dining and the pop-ups and so on, you begin to get kind of a Coke Pepsi comp with Disney and Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that it will sort of feel like that ultimately across particularly those, and everybody's going to have kind of their niche of where they go. I think the Disney niche remains sort of sports and live content for the foreseeable future for where it's going. And then Amazon is always going to have an e-commerce angle for anything it does, even in that space, but advertising will continue to play a role for it as well. And then Apple's will always be sort of a luxury brand. It is flirting with sports, but it hasn't gone all in on it the way that some of those other portals have.
Strangely, despite setting out to be HBO and then buying HBO, Netflix has been out HBO'd by Apple TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Netflix bought HBO before Apple TV could become HBO, or maybe just as it
or
did.
in buying HBO, they caused Apple TV to become
There you go.
the niche prestige brand.
Yeah. It really is fascinating when you think about it as this cultural operating system to look at how all of this is coming together. Because one of the other things I did on Friday was look at the big six movie theaters or studios in 2000. They were Disney, Time Warner at the time, Viacom, which is Paramount now, Seagram Vivendi's NBC Universal before Comcast owned them, 20th Century Fox, and Sony, which is Columbia Pictures. In 2025, they're Disney, which owns 20th Century Fox, so that studio has been collapsed. Warner Brothers Discovery, that's just Warner Brothers under a different name. It's third one. It was AOL for a while too. It was AT&T too. Paramount, which is Viacom, Comcast's NBC Universal, Sony's Columbia, Amazon, which is MGM, Netflix, which is a new studio basically at this point, and Apple, which is a new studio. And then you've got smaller units like Fox, which is the TV operations that are left over that Disney didn't buy, Lionsgate, A24, stuff like that. But what stuck out to me after looking at this and thinking about it for a while is, where does Sony fit in all of this? Like, I almost feel like Sony is back into position when you're talking, Andy, about like, well, there's Amazon and Apple, which use content as kind of a driver for these other businesses. Sony's been doing that the whole time, sort of.
Right. Yeah. I think Sony has always been an interesting one because it is part of a much larger corporation that does a wide range of other things. And the fact that it also happens to make movies is almost minor in comparison. And so it can almost afford to not pay as much critical attention to how this operates as a business. So I don't think there's any strong desire from them to go push into becoming another cultural OS. I think they're going to be a feeder of content to all of those brands in some form or the other, either through partnerships or direct licensing relationships. It'll continue to work on its gaming platform pieces that accompany that as additional entertainment. But I think it's going to be more of a secondary piece than a prime position.
Well, and what about those curious cases where they're, I don't know, like YouTube is always the elephant in the room in this case, where it's like, it's the dominant streaming platform of anything. And yet, what does it own in terms of content? Everything? Nothing? But how does that fit into this model?
I mean, they've gone out and made their own sports licensing deals, so that they have those pieces that are coming in. They've made deals outside the U.S. with broadcasters in other countries to effectively become their version of Hulu for those places. So TF1 is the big one that was most recently announced in France, where effectively, if you want catch-up TV, you do it on YouTube as part of a license deal with them, and that's become big in the UK as well with broadcasters there. So I think outside the US, it is sort of more of that catch-up licensing TV piece than it is here in the US, because we have Hulu and we have all these major streamers that want to have their own front door.
I think TF1 is Netflix though, right?
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. But your point stands, which is YouTube is making deals with. We've got a story later about they're in the running to try to get the Oscars, and they've got some football, and they've got the NFL Sunday Ticket, and they've got YouTube TV. So they've got little fingers, in that.
Yeah, but I mean, again, like they have such a huge base in just original creators that are also doing things that they don't have to depend and go all in on this.
Right.
They can find balance between the two and be perfectly happy being wildly successful.
So to answer the question, who can stop Netflix from buying Warner? A judge or the Warner shareholders? Those are the people. Those are the two people who can stop.
I guess that is the one unexplored wild card that we can speculate on. Do you expect any surprises from the shareholders? Really, what we're evaluating is what is the shareholders' appetite for gambling, basically, because you have a cash offer versus do they expect Netflix to be the winning choice?
I don't think Paramount gets the shareholders to agree to a hostile takeover. Man, I'm 71% sure of that.
I've had to invoke a lot of stake bets over the last 4 or 5 days, and if Netflix is successful, I will not have to pay for a meal next year.
Oh, I see. So that was a disclosure. You're saying, yeah. You have a dog in this fight.
There's a lot of dinners coming.
There's a lot of dinners coming my way if they do. Now, I will acknowledge that it's not out of the realm of possibility. They have to go back and sweeten the pot in some way just to make it all go away. But the reality is, as you said earlier, Tom, like it's a pretty compelling offer moving forward, particularly given that their stock is also tied into it. So I think they're going to be hard pressed to turn that ship.
Basically, David Zaslav made an offhand comment, and I don't remember if it was on the record or somebody quoting it from a source, but if a Paramount raises their offer to $35 a share, they'll take it. So that's kind of what they look at and go, well, that would be enough crazy FU money from Paramount that we'd turn away from Netflix. But I feel like what he was saying when he said that was that's what you're going to need to offer the shareholders to change their mind, because it's not just the amount, it's also the complexity of the deal. Netflix has a pretty clean deal. Netflix is basically coming in with a cash offer on your house, and Paramount's like, well, listen, we've got a home equity loan for our down payment, and we've got, this loan that we're pre-approved from. We're pretty sure we're going to get it. And if you're selling your house, you're going to take the cash offer. Even if you have a slightly bigger offer from the person with all the mortgages and stuff.
I think it's even worse than that, because like the cash offer isn't even for the entire house. The cash offer is for a section of the house. We're going to buy one half of the duplex.
You can sell the in-law units separately. That's fine. We don't want it. Yeah.
And then meanwhile, the Paramount scheme is like, okay, well, you notice that we've got this property down the way. We're going to rezone, and then we'll have to kind of tear down this pool house, but we're going to build another thing.
We'll buy the whole property. We've got the money, but we basically have the money. Like, there's a little confusion about, there's a controversy, two different stories about whether Paramount actually has its loans financed or not. Paramount says its final offer that it gave did have all the financing locked down. But it's a lot of financing. It's a lot of people saying we will give money. Netflix has a couple of loans involved in it, but it also has its own stock and it has its own cash. So that one is it's just a steadier offer financially from what I understand. And we're starting to wade out into financial reporting, which I'm not entirely comfortable
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't at least enter the minds of the shareholders for a little bit.
Yeah. So Netflix for Andy, Brian, you're gonna make your
it's Netflix all the way.
Really?
The shareholders, like basically the only way the shareholders take cash is because if they don't think that Netflix is going to continue.
But you both think regulatory, that Netflix will pass the regulatory concerns?
It has to. It has to, because it's nowhere near in a dominant market cap position. It's nowhere near in a dominant percentage of the market. It's a bit player. Even if you want to look at through the theme park lens, I mean, there are too many ways that it can justifiably say we're just a little guy like everyone else, and they're right depending on what lens you look at it.
Now, my heart hasn't changed since last week's show, but you forced me to choose Paramount, so I'm going to have I'm going to have to reverse justify this.
Wait, baby, you're the softest on Netflix of the three of us.
Well, sure, we could say that. I do think Paramount has a very good chance of getting this, not through the shareholders, but through regulatory blockage, because they are dedicated to fighting this. And so I think they are going to go all out. They are more motivated to get it. And the one thing I'll say in Paramount's favor in the regulatory environment is judges often like when two smaller companies are merging, like, for example, T-Mobile and Sprint. They don't like it when a big competitor buys a small one, like, for instance, when AT&T tried to buy T-Mobile. So if we're looking at it that way, if the judges look at it that way, simply on market cap, they might say, this Netflix acquisition seems like it's too much consolidation. And there's a competing offer on the table that wouldn't provide as much consolidation in the market. You should allow that to happen. So I'll go with Paramount, even though it makes me sad to say it.
Well, that is the kind of most cynical, because it's the one that is the fear-based play across the board, like in terms of being resistant to change and evolution.
Yeah, my gut tells me Netflix gets it too. But going with the parallels and if Paramount were to get it, how would it work? That's what I'll say.
We have breaking news.
Yeah?
I just found out that Andy Beach has dropped the paywall to his writings about this subject. If you head on over to enginesofchange.ai, you get what are you getting for free right now?
Well, you'll definitely get this piece, and then I always do sort of a weekly news summary as well, and those are always free to anybody that's a subscriber. But yeah, the essay pieces typically go behind a paywall, except for the first couple of paragraphs. But for this one, there are too many people watching it. I figured they were going to want to read it. Please, by all means, enjoy.
Also in breaking news, Tom, this just in. Cord Killers is not dropping the paywall at patreon.com/Cord Killers. That's right.
That's right.
You are still encouraged to give us $2 per episode. For more on the subject, we go now live to Tom Merritt.
That's right. You can't drop something that was so small to begin with. We give away the show for free. There is no paywall. You can just go get Cord Killers. Just take it. Take it if you feel good about it. Or you can step over that tiny little paywall. It does give you some cool content, though. You do get full experience earlier, and you do get after talk. And hear what we really think about what's going on. It's such a small paywall. It's only a couple dollars to step over it. Just do it, folks. You'll never miss it. Patreon.com/Cord Killers. And now the search party. Of course, the search party lets you know about stuff you can actually watch somewhere. Once we figure out who owns who, you're going to want to watch this stuff. Netflix has set March 6th, 2026 as the theatrical release of Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. It will have a 14-day window before it goes global live on Netflix March 20th. This is basically set in 1940. It's a sequel to the Peaky Blinders series. And then they've got 2 6-part sequel series that will follow on from the feature film that take place starting in 1953.
Yeah, man. I feel like Peaky Blinders is one of those. I think I watched the first couple episodes.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
like, I'll get around to it perpetually, still in get around to it territory. But it's, I don't know. It's like one of those forever brands. It's, you know what it is? It's like, you now know what it's like for me to hear you talk about what's the British one that the Downton Abbey, just forever.
Yeah.
Always more Downton Abbey.
There's always more Peaky Blinders and all. Well, no more Downton Abbey. And who knows how long Peaky Blinders will go on. You a Peaky Blinders seer, Andy?
That's good.
It is a love property in our household. We like it a lot.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that I kind of thought it had wrapped, to be honest. And I was like,
It had, and
Yeah.
now it's back.
and now it's back.
Yeah. We also got a trailer for A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is in the Game of Thrones universe, adapts the first novella in the Hedge Knight series, set 50 years after the events of House of the Dragon, so still before the events of Game of Thrones, a century before to be exact. 2 unlikely heroes wander Westeros, a young, naive, but courageous knight, Ser Duncan the Tall, and his diminutive squire, Egg, set in an age when the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne. Debuting on HBO, whoever owns it, actually, it'll still be Warner, on January 18th, 2026, with the first 6 episodes.
How did the trailer look? I didn't get a chance to catch it. I am hopeful that this has always, from the outside, I never read the novella, appeared to be a smallish story. I don't know. How was the trailer?
It looked more Game of Thrones than House of the Dragon to me.
Yeah.
It looked like the smaller parts of Game of Thrones, and it had a nice
not
comic.
the giant MMORPG looking stuff that we see.
Not the big soaring dragon House of the Dragon stuff. And quite amusing, I think. Andy, did you watch the trailer?
Saw the trailer randomly, but literally was probably a solid 30 seconds into it before I realized that it wasn't House of Dragons, because it had all the right words, but I was like, this is confusing. What's going on? And then I was like, oh, right. Okay. And, I'll give it a shot. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Sony Pictures has tapped Chris Bremner, who wrote Bad Boys for Life and Bad Boys Ride or Die, to draft a script for the 5th film in the Men in Black franchise.
So the guy who made yet another movie in a franchise with diminishing returns is making yet another movie in a franchise with diminishing returns?
Except those were boys, and this one is men.
Oh, okay. You know what? So this is a real boys to men story.
Yes.
Clip that.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see Tommy. I think we might see Will, but there's no guarantee. It might be an entirely different thing. This might be straight to Sony. It could, I don't know, it could go on.
Straight to Betamax with it.
Yeah. G Kids and IMAX are partnering to bring 4K Studio Ghibli restorations to North American theaters in 2026. Princess Mononoke, which is the second highest grossing vault release ever for IMAX, will be one of them. The next Studio Ghibli title to be released under the agreement will debut in IMAX early next year. More details on that to come.
I'll be curious how the marketing goes for this, because traditionally when you get these remasters, you get the make sure to see it in the big screen. There's nothing like it. And usually they're talking about the lovingly crafted restoration of it. But given the intertwined narratives of Studio Ghibli with AI and AI being good at upscaling, and of course there's the narrative overlap of OpenAI doing Studio Ghibli reskins of pictures and stuff, I wonder how they're going to sell this. But I'm sure it'll be great in a theater. But
they've been
how are they
doing
gonna
this
sell it
in
as?
Asia, and it's been wildly popular. So I think the way they sell it is, want to see Studio Ghibli on IMAX and looking even better? Here, give us $50 or $20 or whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
Everybody quietly forgets about the AI part when it's for like an up-res, and they just want to go see a good movie.
They forget that counts as using AI.
Yeah, that doesn't count anymore because I want to see it, is how that logic goes. Netflix has unveiled Tygo, Tygo, an action thriller set in the same universe as the Extraction movies. So this is an Extraction expansion. No Hemsworths in this one. We've got Lalisa from Blackpink, Don Lee, and Squid Game's Lee Jin-wook. So it's going to be set in Asia.
Cool.
Amazon is adding a dedicated news tab for U.S. customers, giving them free access to several live news networks without needing to switch apps or hunt through the menus. So you can go in Prime Video to news, and then you can choose ABC News Live, CBS News 24/7, Live Now from Fox, CNN Headlines, or NBC News Now. They will all have their own streams in that little area.
That's really interesting because that's no small expense in terms of infrastructure. And it seems like an interesting pro-social media adjacent, reminder that Amazon does video, but in a kind of C-SPAN-y kind of way.
These are all existing streams. So Andy, you probably have a good guess. What is the lift on being able to pipe those into your own app?
I mean, from a cultural cachet, I feel like it'll probably do a lot to bring eyeballs there. And if they can keep it long enough that people build the muscle memory around it, it's important. It's become almost trivial to bring a live HD or even 4K feed into a cloud environment in order to bring it into this. And Amazon is already moving so much content around in their cloud already that it's sort of trivial for them to be able to turn this on, because this content was probably already there and all they had to do was really point it into their environment.
Keep in mind, when I say non-trivial, I'm not talking about the infrastructure or expense. I mean, in terms of that is brand space. There's 100% of their brand identity, and they are carving off some significant percentage of it to it's mind share, real estate of the mind that they're giving up.
Yeah, it's Amazon trying to be the portal here, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're keeping the eyeballs in their space, even though they're seeding some of the identity inside of that. So that they've built a room for news, and they're going to put other logos on the front of that.
And Amazon doesn't do news yet,
right? Well, and yeah.
The fifth and final season of The Boys will come to Prime Video. Speaking of, April 8th. Weekly episodes run until May 20th.
Man, I feel like many an adolescence came and went during the run of The Boys. I deeply, deeply loved all of it that I watched. And then at some point I turned 21 and then stopped watching it.
Yeah, I don't know. Andy, did you watch? Did you fall off too?
Yeah, about probably a couple of episodes into season 2, I think I dropped and never went back, and am shocked to discover there are like 3 more seasons for me.
But The Boys is kind of like that Rick and Morty adolescent. It's smart for its social commentary, and it's present and of the moment, and it's high quality, and it's excellent storytelling, and it has also been running for a long time in something that in a weird way it felt like I outgrew. But hats off to everybody on that production. It's great.
Eileen and I watched, I think, a few episodes into season 3, and then it was one of those where we just forgot to keep watching it. It wasn't a conscious decision, and we never went back. Well, that brings us to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
Buried Treasure is the section of the show where we share something we've been watching with you so that maybe you can say, oh, that sounds good. I would like to watch that too. It's a way for us to help you make sense of this crazy landscape. Andy, do you have something? Do you need time to think about something? We didn't talk about this ahead of time.
So I watch the show every week, and I've been on it a couple of times. So I came with one in my pocket, and it is an oddball one. So I have a fondness and a love of the UK show Taskmaster. They started showing it on YouTube, so us Americans didn't have to go steal it. And I'm delighted that there is a new, I believe it is season 4 of the Australian Taskmaster that is currently playing on YouTube weekly. And I've been watching that.
You know, that is an under discussed attraction of YouTube, is watching television shows from other markets.
Yeah.
Especially those kind of reality shows and things like that, and comedies and everything, music shows, those kinds of things. Taskmaster is excellent too. Like it is the prototype, reality, like variety show.
It's the waterfall. If I'm doing something and I just put an old episode on in the background and it can just play forever as far as I'm concerned.
Brian, what about you?
You know what? I did rewatch Pluribus yet again, and we'll hear all about how right I was in After Talk. But I do want to give a shout out. I'm nearing the end of season 1 of Alien Earth, and my goodness, guys, it is good. It is good. Things that I never thought I would experience when in an Alien franchise, and I mean emotional things, a fondness for beings and entities that you would never believe in a million years. Hats off to Noah Hawley. I can't wait to see what he does with Far Cry. I love Alien Earth. It's great.
And it was something that you came back to, right?
Yeah, well, I've loved every episode, but I've been slow walking it, and we talked about The Boys. The Boys, you just one day suddenly there wasn't that magnetic pull back. The magnetism is strong with Alien Earth. I keep thinking that I don't want more, and then you watch the first minute of it, and you're sucked all the way in. Timothy
back.
Olyphant's fantastic. The entire cast is great. It's good.
There are lots of shows like that where I like them while I'm watching them. I can't stop watching an episode. I don't get bored. But then when I think about going back, it almost feels like work until I start watching it. And then I realize it's not work. And I don't know what that is. I don't know what German word describes that phenomenon.
I think it has to do a little bit with the density of emotions. For example, I know I'll eventually get back to watching The Chair Company, but I don't feel that pull for it because there's a lot of calories I had to burn watching it.
Yeah. Speaking of The Chair Company, I have continued to watch The Chair Company, and it continues to be baffling, and yet pulls me back in every time because I'm like, I do want to see. It's a little uncomfortable, but I do want to see. Also, I want to recommend Typhoon Family. The series just wrapped up on Netflix, so you can watch the entire thing now. You don't have to wait week to week. Typhoon Family is a Korean drama about it's set, let me put it this way. It's set during the IMF crisis in the 1990s when the Korean government went bankrupt, and so did a bunch of companies around Korea. And the CEO of this import-export company dies of a heart attack right as his company is on the brink of collapse. And his son is a ne'er-do-well playboy because he's never had to do a thing in his life. And he gets thrust into the position of CEO. And the question is, will he rise to the challenge? He's got these employees that he has to take care of. He's got a challenging economic environment. No one believes in him. And of course, he does, spoiler, rise to the challenge. There's a love story between him and one of the employees that weaves its way through it. But what I thought was fascinating is it's really a tale of the importance of free markets and why it's important to take chances in business and how you strike deals and how you get around nefarious competitors who want to undercut you. There's a lot of let's go to Thailand and make this deal in person kind of stuff. I really think you'd like this storyline, honestly. Brian.
I mean, I'll give it a try. So far, everything you're describing makes it sound like the upside down of Succession, where everything is backwards.
Yeah. The dad's dead. There's no question about the succession.
Right.
But he's still an unserious person. And can he become a serious person in time? There's also a competing company that wants to take him down. That competing company has also a playboy rich kid who hates him, who wants to take him down. It's called Typhoon Family because the name of the business is Taepun Sangsa, which is Typhoon Trading Company. You can find that on Netflix, dubbed or with subtitles. If you've got something we should be on the lookout for, email us, cordkillers@gmail.com. Now, Brian.
Yes.
I hold here in my normally sized hands
Oh,
a large book.
yeah. Yeah, that's a copy of Synced. It's a perfect coffee table book. You can pick it up, just turn to any page, and then learn a little bit of some technical history on there. For example, which one you have right there? What is that?
This is OpenAI. Would you like to know the history of OpenAI and
You
how
better
it
believe it.
revolutionized stuff? There it is. I just turned to that by random. That's in there. I just got a review from AB Puppy, who said he read it cover to cover. He loved it. And even though he didn't skip around, he loved that there are references in there like, oh, we talked about this in chapter 12. If you didn't read that one, or coming up in chapter 20, we're going to get to processors. So you might want to be on the lookout for that. So I was happy that he noticed that had been done. Go check it out. Tom'sNewBook.com or wherever fine books are sold. Synced, SYNCED. By Tom Merritt. That's me, TOMMERRITT. You don't have to pronounce your own name to be able to be a good writer.
Yeah, take it from me, Brian.
Let's scan the horizon. Send a scanning.
Send a scanning to abort.
Scanning the horizon!
The Golden Globes are back. And we have the nominations. On the TV front, HBO's The White Lotus led with 6 nominations, one more than Netflix's Adolescence. Only Murders in the Building and Severance had 4 each. On the movie side of thing, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another got 9 nominations. Joachim Trier's Sentimental Value had 8. Sinners 7. Hamnet 6. By the way, the only thing I know about Hamnet is it's been on every billboard I drive by in Los Angeles. So I'm not surprised it got 6. Frankenstein and Wicked for Good, 5 apiece. Overall, Neon, the company, landed the most of any film distributor with 21. Netflix scored the most TV nominations with 22. And you can watch the Golden Globes, Hollywood's favorite night to get drunk, January 11th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific on CBS or Paramount Plus.
Yeah, I was excited to see some names that were under promoted, including Hamnet. I mean, obviously they're spending a lot of money.
It was
on
promoted
Hollywood
just
Town.
only right
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Deadline reports that NBC Universal is interested in acquiring the rights to broadcast or stream the Oscars starting in 2029 after Disney's ABC's rights expire. ABC has it until 2028. YouTube also bidding on this, and Amazon has been reported to be interested as well.
YouTube is a really interesting pick for this because they would have the opportunity to break out the feed into so many different flavors of coverage. I really hope YouTube takes it just because it's an anti-Hollywood company that would be covering the Hollywood Awards featuring Hollywood.
I do think that it would be great if Peacock did the same thing it did for the Macy's Day Parade, where it'll have 3 cameras on the Oscars, one of which goes off halfway through the ceremony.
Oh, is that what happened? Oh.
Yeah. I think the float just finished the parade before the rest of the parade was done, and it was the camera on that float that they turned off.
But meanwhile, the preset was just there.
Yeah, it was just still sitting there. U.S. pay TV subscriber levels posted their first increase since 2017 during Q3. This according to Moffett-Nathanson, which does good estimates on this stuff. Overall subscriptions to cable, satellite, and streaming packages increased 303,000 from the prior quarter. YouTube TV added 750,000. So YouTube TV went up 750,000. The entire industry went up 303,000. For the first time since 2017, but that means everything else declined by about 447,000. Declines at other outlets did slow, though, rather than increase their acceleration. So we may be hitting the bottom on cable, honestly.
Yeah, well, at some point you've got the fatigued. It's not up for grabs. No, we're not going to pipe it onto the internet.
And Moffett-Nathanson did say that Spectrum in particular did well with packaging in streaming and saying like, hey, you pay for cable and you get Peacock, you get Netflix, you know, like it's just one bill. And that seems to be a successful strategy for cable TV providers.
Yeah, I think all of them are bundling now and using it as a way to just increase the numbers, or at least keep the numbers from eroding.
It's an attractive play if you're already a cable subscriber to be like, oh, I don't have to add all these other services, right? It's somewhat attractive to people who are like, I'm tired of managing all this myself. I really would like to just have it all on one bill. So if we call Warner Brothers spinoff Crapco, we do have to call Comcast Versant because they actually have a name. Versant CEO Mark Lazarus referred to NBC Universal as cousins and old friends, and downplayed the notion that they will scoop up more linear TV assets after spinning out of Comcast. Lazarus said, we're very happy with the portfolio that we have. This is, of course, with everybody going, so are you going to buy the cable companies from Warner Brothers Discovery? They're certainly playing coy. The CFO, Anand Kinney, said during the company's investor day in New York, Versant will spin off from Comcast in early January and will control NBCU's cable networks except for Bravo. The NBC broadcast network Telemundo, local stations, sports and news all staying with Comcast.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Kimmel has signed a 1-year extension with ABC to continue to host Jimmy Kimmel Live. Everybody's like, oh, they're going to fire him. They're not firing him. He'll be there through at least 2027.
Oh, man. How great would it have been if there was a surprise recasting? if somebody else was hosting Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Kimmy Jimmel.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently they agreed on this several months ago, but delayed announcing it because they didn't want to rub it in Stephen Colbert's face right after they announced the cancellation of The Late Show. So there you go on that. Let's move on to the chatter. Oh my gosh, do we? Turns out y'all love Plex. I hope someday all of you find someone who looks at you the way our audience looks at Plex. I'm not going to read every word of the emails this week because there are so many of them, but I will summarize, or rather ChatGPT will. David explains that he runs a personal Plex server on an old PC with 2 4-terabyte drives, storing a large media library he acquired mostly through downloads because buying everything would have been impractical. He uses a lifetime Plex Pass, though notes Jellyfin is a good free alternative, and other self-hosted tools like Image to avoid subscription services. While he's the main user, his girlfriend and sisters are starting to use it too, as paid streaming services add ads, making his setup an attractive ad-free alternative.
Yeah, this is one of the perennial troubles is when piracy becomes the frictionless, best quality version, piracy grows.
Andrew explains that he bought a lifetime Plex Pass in 2016 for $120. It's now $250, and he would gladly pay even more because he supports paying developers and prefers ad-free software. He describes 2 types of Plex users: pirates, who rarely share libraries, and owners who back up legally purchased media, and places himself firmly in that second group. He rips disks and bit shifts some streamed content for offline access and reliability, and he's willing to share his library.
Ha!
Ryan explains that he used Plex heavily for piracy years ago, but moved almost entirely to legal streaming as it became more convenient, eventually abandoning Plex altogether. A recent moment, renewing YouTube Premium while watching PBS and thinking about public media funding, prompted him to cancel services, support PBS and NPR, get a VPN, and rebuild his Plex library. His new rule is to use Plex only as a replacement for streaming services while still preferring to rent or buy content legally when possible. Danny argues that Plex's legitimate features may unintentionally provide cover for widespread piracy enabled by the easily accessible R tools like sonar, radar, and LiDAR. He notes that detailed guides and tight integration with Plex and Jellyfin have made large-scale piracy easy for anyone with enough storage. He also suggests that the optics of this ecosystem could be used to portray Plex as untrustworthy or greedy in efforts to influence ISPs or governments.
Yeah, greedy is an interesting one. Well, I mean, man, we don't have time. Next week, continue your piracy thoughts. Cordkillers@gmail.com, and we'll have more to argue about next week.
The only thing I'll add to that is one man's easy is another man's that looks like work. And I know this in the technology world where you're like, well, yeah, all you have to do is, tweak your router to do this and then add this storage and then buy a NAS. And for a lot of people, they're like, you lost me at tweak. Like,
Also, it's easy to pull the handle in the trolley problem, but it's not the pulling of the handle that's burning all the calories.
We also got an email from Scott who says he's been enjoying the full experience, but thinks it falls short in one important way, which is the superfan. So many fans of Firefly will tell you in the same conversation how great their favorite episode is, but rip into the network for the poor promotion and irregular time slots of that show, or how about all the ridiculousness Andy Kaufman caused behind the scenes on Taxi. Every show has its own juicy lore, and that is a dimension the current full experience can't really address. If your goal is to simulate being a fan, you need to add an R for the fuller experience. First, ultimate, lowest, last, and research behind the scenes tidbits that every fan loves to chime in on.
I mean, to be honest, you might as well call it full W for FULL and well, actually.
And then finally, we got Kevin writing in, just curious about thoughts on the name Paramax for a combined Paramount Plus HBO Max streaming service. Maybe even make Paramax not include any HBO and have HBO be a separate prestige content and service add-on. Sounds like what Netflix wants to do, honestly.
Although I will say Paramax is kind of the worst of all worlds. So it's like, so you're going to drop the HBO part, keep the Max part, and then add only the part of Paramount that makes it sound like somebody has a disability. All right. I'm sure Hollywood will love it. Mom, Dad, I made it. I'm on Paramax.
Almost like Max.
I'm fairly certain I have to ask my doctor if Paramax is right for me.
Paramax could cause
Side
death.
effects.
Well, Andy Beach, the side effect of having you on the show is making us all smarter. If folks want to keep getting smarter, where should they go?
My Substack is called enginesofchange.ai, and I write about all these kinds of media tech and AI shenanigans that are going on out there.
Fantastic. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. And we are live on twitch.tv/Night Attack and youtube.com/Modern Rogue Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. I reckon we'll talk to you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Pleasure as always, Andy. Don't take it amiss that Brian left without saying goodbye. He's getting coffee.
Totally fine.
He's getting coffee.
Quite all right. That was a lot of fun, and I look forward to finding out how you guys liked the... Are we up to the first episode of Star Trek? Is that what you guys are talking about?
No, we're doing the last episode of Taxi on Full Experience.
The last episode of Taxi. Okay. Well,
Simca's Monthlies.
Hearing that one and then the after talk later. But I'll let you guys enjoy all of that, and I'll see you soon.
Fantastic. I'm sure we'll be talking.
It's funny how when you and I talked like 2 weeks ago, you were like, if anything happens in December, maybe we can slide in one extra. And all I could think was, there's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah. Well, what happened with Justin, because I had Brian on Friday's show, and what happened with Justin is I was like, let's hold off talking to you for DTNS until something happens with Ellison. And then Monday, before I could text him, Justin texted me, when you want to talk. So we dug into the political angle of it. And I have a feeling like whatever the next development in this whole saga is probably going to be me calling you and being like, so Andy, can you jump on to talk about this? Because there's it's not going away.
Nah, no, for sure. All right. I'll see you guys later. Take
All
it
right.
easy.
Thanks, man. Have a good evening.
So my internet hates me.
Yeah, I saw you jump out and back.
That wasn't me jumping out. That was StreamYard kicking me
not
out.
jumping out. Yeah, falling out, like being pushed
Very
off a
dead.
cliff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was starting to judder and jitter, and then the video started getting fuzzy and cranky, and then the audio started going robot, and I couldn't hit the controls, and I was like, this is bound to fail any second. I gotta, and then it just like, oops, something went wrong. You don't say, StreamYard. You don't say. And then I jumped back in. Everything was fine after I jumped back in, but yeah, it was.
My brother won an award at the company he works on and is getting sent to Hawaii for the award ceremony. I don't remember if he said when, but they don't know which island yet. Oh, it's in March. And because we're like, which island are you going to? And he's like, I don't know. I'll find out. And then he's like, he came back. They aren't sure on the island, so more to come. Like, oh, they haven't booked this yet, then is what that means. They're still trying to find a hotel.
March is a great time for not Oahu.
Someone said humdinger.
The humdinger protocol's running. Now clean it up. You guys have to clean it up, G. James B. Yeah, I forgot. I've been playing with a bunch of scripting. Yeah. That's great. G. James B is the one that always remembers. Thank you for checking on that.
That's amazing.
Tom, we've got a terrible challenge because in all of the chaos and the back-to-back episodes, I have not seen this episode of Taxi. So it seems like Amos, did you watch it? Oh, doggone
I was
it.
trying to
So
catch
I don't
up
know
on Pluribus.
if
we'll just put off full experience for a week then. Because
Okay,
we actually overperformed
long.
by
Yeah.
doing Thursday's full experience. We were like willing to skip it, right? Because we had a hard out. So let's just let everybody.
After talk?
Yeah. We'll let everybody know in after talk that it's coming.
Okay.
That it's still coming.
perfect.
Well, in that case, we need to say goodbye to our folks.
I guess
Yeah,
we do.
thank you very much, everyone who tuned in
Now it's time to
live.
say goodbye to Jed and all his kin.
Bye,
And with that-
guys.
Bye.
Ta-ta.